a BASH6x1 presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BASH. This week we have a special guest coming on the program. He's been on here before as the representative of a website that is a standard bearer in the Call of Duty community, CODHQ.com. But since we last talked to him, back at the beginning of the year, he's gone on to become the community manager at Treyarch, the multi-platform software developer that is now under the Activision umbrella. Let me welcome Josh to the program.
Hey, Jack. How you doing?
Fantastic, sir. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you.
Memorial Day weekend. How you enjoying your Toronto weather?
It's the first time, I think, this year it's been fairly decent outside. Nice and sunny. How are you down there?
It's pretty sunny here as well. I got to admit, I think we're probably a little bit warmer than you, but I don't want to make you feel bad or anything.
Oh, go ahead. Let me feel bad.
I'm not missing the northeastern weather. The 78-degree, sunny, no humidity weather is pretty awesome.
And no bugs either. You know, it seems like yesterday, we were talking to you. I think we were doing a 2007 wrap-up. You know, it's been already about 4 months since you left CODHQ.com, and you've alluded to the fact that you left the wintry Northeast for the fun and sun in the Southwest. Has time flown for you as well?
It's been going a mile a minute, Jack, I gotta be honest. But it's been great. It's been such an experience. Just the rate things move out here and just in my life has been amazing.
Just give us kind of a location there. Where are you guys at?
We're in the heart of Santa Monica, California. We're right up Ocean Park Boulevard. We're probably 3 to 5 miles from the beach, and we're pretty close to other areas like Marina del Rey. We're really in the surrounding Los Angeles area, so we get this great ocean breeze. We're close enough to the beach where after work you can go down to the pier, go down to the promenade, and enjoy yourself, enjoy the weather. It's just a great atmosphere to be in, stress-free environment.
So you were asked back around Christmas time, weren't you, to take on the role of community manager? So and you took that bait relatively quickly, if I recall.
Yeah, I got the call right towards the end of December. I got flown out for an interview at the beginning of January. From the time I actually got offered a position and from when I was out here permanently and starting was in a 3-week window.
You moved like the wind, there's no question. I mean, I remember talking to you in New York and then all of a sudden you were gone. So let's talk about Treyarch a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about Treyarch, the company? You know, the PC community hasn't really heard from you since, Big Red 1, I guess. We all know you've had the experience with COD 3, but that was a console title. Give the PC guys out there some of the history and maybe pedigree of Treyarch.
Sure. Treyarch was, as a company, founded in '96. We've created over the years over 20 titles across basically every platform in existence, leading up to obviously the most notable franchises we've worked on are, the Spider-Man and the Call of Duty franchise. We made Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1, Call of Duty 3, and also Gray Matter merged in with Treyarch in 2005-2006 timeframe. So with Gray Matter, we brought on the experience from the developers who made Call of Duty United Offensive, which was a PC title. And so clearly we have a lot of talent in here, which has been put to many Call of Duty franchise entries.
How big is the company? I mean, how many people are working down there by the beach?
Probably upwards of 300, I'd say. We really have 3 dedicated teams working on the 3 franchises we have in-house, and I'd say 250 to 300 people.
Wow. Now, you were hired on as a community manager. Tell us a little bit about the job. What do you do? What's your day like as the community manager for Treyarch?
Well, what's my day like, or what's my day going to be like?
Okay, both.
Okay. So as a community manager, what I will be doing is I'm going to be interfacing directly with the community and gathering their feedback and disseminating that information about our titles that are in development. Now, unfortunately, our titles haven't exactly revealed yet. Until they reveal, I'm instead being tasked with some other items in the company, aside from just going through the training, the necessary PR and marketing training that Activision wants to put me through. I'm also more or less being made available to pretty much any department that finds my resources useful. So if somebody needs me to put together a document, I'm doing a lot of work with our website. We're doing Obviously, we're gonna want to have some community forums and an outlet for people to reach out to us. So I'm doing a lot of work with that project, working closely with the web teams to making sure we get exactly what we need. And I'm really going around meeting all the teams, getting a lot of behind the scenes content under my belt so that I'll know exactly what to talk about with the community. I definitely intend on starting up a blog, which people will be able to read. So those are sort of the things that I'm doing on a daily basis.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about sort of the interface points into the company. You mentioned the website. Has that been announced yet, or can we dial that website up, or?
Oh, well, no. Right now, you can go to Treyarch.com. That's our current company website. Without revealing too much, we may or may not be having a little bit of an update to that site. So
I'll keep that as my favorites, and I'll keep clicking on it to see if it changes or not in the next little while. That'll be fantastic.
Certainly.
So we sort of talked and alluded to the fact that there may be titles in production that we can't talk to. Can we talk about the titles that you currently have in production? Are you working on any of the existing titles that Treyarch has? Do you get anything to do with the Spider-Mans and the COD 3s or?
Right. When generally speaking, we do have obviously a lot of games that are out there. Call of Duty 3 is out there. In respect to what is still actively being done on those platforms or on those titles, I don't think honestly, I can say it's not that much. And the reason behind that, it's not because we don't want to. It's just because the developers are completely focused on the products that they're making right now. We're going to make sure we hit it out of the park, so to speak, with the next 3 titles that come out of our studio. So I know a few weeks ago we did actually do some maintenance on the PS3 version of Call of Duty 3 that improved some stability and some performance in that regard. But short of that, not a whole lot is being done for those titles. Something that I've been doing for the COD 3 community specifically. There's sort of been a call to action for these map packs. We have the Valor and Bravo map packs that are downloadable content for Call of Duty 3, and something that they've really wanted was for these map packs to be made free, so you can download them for free. So that's something that I'm talking with Activision and with Treyarch management and seeing what our options there are in terms of making that content available to the general public. And that's, ideally the goal for that is to reinvigorate the game, reinvigorate that particular title, and bring more people to the table. Because what a lot of our hardcore fans and Call of Duty 3 fans are complaining about is, yeah, there's still plenty of servers to play on, but it doesn't seem to be very many servers that play with the special downloadable content maps.
Right.
So,
this is kind of interesting. I know you've been dealing with the console fellas on COD 3, but in your role, clearly, you're not just there for the PC community. You're there for all communities. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm here. I'm going to be the point of contact for the Call of Duty community, the Spider-Man community, and the Bond community.
Excellent. So let me ask the question, the gee whiz question that everybody, I think, looking at you as the local boy making good there, coming out of your community roots and getting, the job. I think that a lot of the guys modding in the community right now would love to have a job with one of the big players in the gaming entertainment community. Or in the entertainment industry, I guess now. What's it like to work there? I mean, what is the general office environment like? Is it casual? Is it busy, crazy? Is it like having a real job? I guess is where I'm going with that. Or do you feel like you're still working on COD HQ?
It definitely is a real job, but the fine line there is it's a real job that we really enjoy doing. And I think that's the greatest thing is back in New York. I'm not going to name the company because I don't want to make any bad blood there. But the company I was working for in New York, an IT support company, was it was fine, but it was a job, and I was waking up and going to do that job for the paycheck. Now, working in the game design industry, I'm waking up every morning just stoked for the day in front of me. I can't wait to get in the office. I can't wait to do what I do. And I think that's the greatest thing. And it's sort of cliche. Everybody always says, "Oh, you got to do what you love." Sure, we may work some long hours sometimes, and it may be pretty hectic and stressful when we get down to crunch time and we have some milestones we're going to hit. But being able to do what you love every day, day in and day out, is something that I think a lot of people desire and very few people achieve.
Well, you did say it was serious work as well, and do you find that there is a cultural difference, perhaps, from what you're used to in the Northeast? I know the type of businesses in the Northeast tend to be very, very intense. Let me put it that way. And I've noticed myself. You move out to the West Coast, and it's a slightly different atmosphere. Do you find that the office environment is different than what you're used to? Is the difference just simply an East-West thing, or has it more to do with the culture of the gaming industry versus all of us in the non-entertainment industry, shall we say?
It has a little bit to do with both. Absolutely, just the East Coast, West Coast thing has a huge impact from a cultural point of view. The East Coast is very, you got Chicago, you got New York, very, very professional business, strict, sort of operations. And when you come out to the West Coast, you have more of the Google-like companies and game industry, game design. You get to Silicon Valley. Of course, you got Hollywood and the entertainment industry. So it seems to be a little bit more relaxed, not as fast-paced and busy as the East Coast. And I've noticed these things just in terms of the way people walk even. Like, if you go to a mall on the East Coast, when people are walking, they're walking as fast as they can. They're in a hurry. They're just trying to get to where they want to go. Out here, you go to a mall, it's a little bit slower walking. People are generally a little bit less stressed and less hurried. So there's definitely that cultural difference. There's a number of theories as to why that can be attributed to, and maybe it's because California hasn't been part of the United States as long as the East Coast states. So maybe it's just from that regard as a state a little bit less matured from a tenured standpoint, I guess. Or maybe it's just the weather. Maybe it's since it always seems to be sunny and nice and cool, and sunny and low humidity out here, that maybe people just feel less stressed in general. It could be a number of things.
I always thought it was because in the Northeast, that's where all the head offices of all the companies in the States used to be. And, the further away you are from head office or your boss, the less stressed you're going to be. I know my speech, for example, gets really slow when my boss goes away on a business trip. So, it's... not as much to. Yeah, I'm a little bit more relaxed, So.
Exactly. The game industry, though, does have a huge impact in that we're obviously encouraged to make our work environments as comfortable as possible, as homey as possible. You can decorate your cubicle, you can decorate your office pretty much any way you want. You can wear anything you want. And that's sort of because we practically live there, so to speak, through most of the crunch periods of the game design process. We're pretty much there all the time, so it's our little home away from home, and that really helps too, because it just adds to that relaxed feeling and that less formal, less strict atmosphere.
Well, good to know that office nudity is accepted down in California.
Oh, yeah. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
Josh, this may not be necessarily PC related, but I know that when you started at Treyarch, you had a little bit of a rough start with the console gamers. They're a rough bunch, so I'm not surprised. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because a lot of the PC guys who listen to this webcast don't really follow the console scene at all. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I wanted to introduce myself and my proximity to the company from the perspective of our existing games, Call of Duty 3, obviously. So I wanted to get in touch with that community. One thing, Treyarch hadn't had a community manager until me. So one thing that community had always sort of felt is that they were left behind. Now, the whole purpose of me being here is to sort of change that feeling and that notion. What happened was, and it really, I think, got blown out of proportion and it got carried away faster than I would have liked. But what really happened is somebody jumped the gun in the way that some people do. It's an honest mistake. I wasn't able to respond as promptly as I wanted to, and somebody jumped down my throat because of it. And I found that as a good opportunity to put my cards on the table and say, look, this is who I am, this is what I stand for. And this is something that the PC community has known me for years. And I don't intend to change that with joining Treyarch. And that's that, and you probably know this, I'm sort of different. I think different's good. And I'm not going to be a sort of a pushover community manager. I'm not going to stand by and take immature or unreasonable or disrespectful behavior. I'm a person like any other, and I do represent Treyarch, but I'm going to represent Treyarch professionally and respectfully, and it's just my request that people do the same to me. That was the request I made, and people. Well, we know
that. I guess from your moderation of COD HQ. I mean, I've read a lot of your posts, and I know your style. But what exactly happened though?
So people read that about it. And what I said, and they drew the wrong conclusions. And without pointing fingers, I just think that it was a few people who sort of accused me of being like arrogant and trying to lecture them and this and that. And that wasn't the meaning at all. The meaning again was just to put the cards on the table in that I'm not the typical PR manager that you'd encounter in general. I'm not in customer support, where customers always right. So to that regard, I don't think if somebody's behaving and if somebody's talking to me in a manner that I wouldn't allow in person, I don't think that I should be allowing it or accepting it on the forums.
Well, so. I think just as in any walk of life, when you're communicating or dealing with people, I think you have to be respectful, and I think that your behavior has to be at least, if not cordial, at least polite. You certainly can't take crap. You're a human being, and you deserve respect as any other human being is concerned. What ended up happening? Was there like a flame war, or?
Well, it sort of turned into that, as forums tend to do. But I obviously I can't. I'm not gonna flame anybody. I'm not gonna get into a flame war with people. But generally, I think people started to sort of see what I was getting at there, and I think it died down more or less. A lot of people started talking about how that it didn't seem that I was anything like people were saying I was. Some other people started reading it objectively and realizing that, hey, what this guy requested was completely fine. He asked for people to be polite and respectful, and you guys sort of jumped on him for that. So I guess I'm glad that situation was resolved, and no, I'm not at all trying to lecture or trying to come on and as arrogant or disrespectful. That's exactly the kind of behavior that I was trying to just forewarn against, and to say, let's leave that behind, and let's not bring that here.
I take from all this some consolation in that I was under the impression that the PC guys were a raucous group and full of bile and vinegar. It's nice to hear anyway from that point of view, if you can take consolation in this, in that it seems like that type of behavior in forums is not just isolated or focused just in the PC community, but it's kind of interesting that this should happen. You just took over the reins. It doesn't seem fair to me that they should be concentrating on getting at you. Admittedly, you represent the company, but it seems that at least these things should not get personal. I mean, that's one of the things that I say in my own forums is, discuss the idea or criticize the idea, not necessarily the person who's saying it. Don't go for the ad hominem attacks. And I think that's exactly what you were asking for. So it seems fairly reasonable from my perspective anyway.
Oh, thank you. And that's what I thought. And ultimately, I think my message with that is people should just wait and see what I'm made of. Wait and see what I bring to the table, and keep that open mind. And I think that while I may be a little bit unorthodox to the typical community manager that they're used to, I think they're going to notice. I think they'll realize that that works in their favor a lot more times than not. So, to that regard, I mean, I'd ask anybody who's still skeptical to just give it some time and wait until our games start to reveal and hit the market.
One of the just on a sort of on a psychology basis, and one of the things that I hate about dealing with other folks in the community through forums is the fact that people are very different in forums than they are in person. You'd never talk to somebody in person the way you would talk to them sometimes in a forum. Very detached, So, and that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to come up with a webcast, because you can hear the other person, you can understand how they're thinking and get at their soul a little bit and have some compassion, I suppose. Do you think that this whole episode has maybe changed your idea on how to get your message across, or how to get the company's message across? Do you think that you're going to be heading towards more of a human type of communication? Are you thinking of doing webcasting video? I noticed that Rob over at IW started a webcast, but I think that's his own personal one. Do you think of anything like that? Are you going to do something like that?
I don't know what I'll do. I may have some of my own little ideas up my sleeve, but in terms of the way I communicate on forums and in text, I don't intend to change at all. As long as the company puts up with me, that's who I am, and I'm gonna talk to you person to person like I were in the room with you. I'll be respectful, and I'm not gonna be flaming, but I'm also not gonna take any BS, so to speak.
Well, I never considered you flaming. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Oh, you see, yeah.
I had to work in a joke. You have dreamt, I think, of working in the gaming industry for a long time. You've finally grabbed, the brass ring, as it were. Is it as exciting? And I think you've sort of given away the answer to that. Is it as exciting as you'd thought, or has the experience been a bit of an anticlimax for you?
Oh yeah, it's been an anticlimax. I mean, Treyarch's just not stimulating me; they're not pushing me. No, it's been an amazing experience. I don't even know where to start. No, it has not been anticlimactic at all. I've been blown away with the experience. Let me put it that way. I've just had so much fun out here. I've learned so much, and looking at it from worst case scenario. Let's say nothing happened. Let's say I came out here and for some reason it just didn't work out, and I had to move back to the East Coast. Just the experience of moving out here on my own, knowing nobody on the West Coast, getting to know the game design industry and networking with those people. Just that experience alone has been invaluable. But of course, it's not the worst case at all. So far, it's been the best case, and I've fit in great, and just everybody at work has just been phenomenal, very easy to approach, very friendly, and the job, like I'd said, every morning I'm excited to do it. So it's a fun job and really exciting.
That's really good to hear. There's a lot of people listening to the webcast who might be thinking about taking a similar route out of modding for fun and developing games for fun, and maybe turning that into more of a professional career choice. For all of those guys, for all of these budding developers out there in our own Call of Duty community, how does one go about getting, noticed by publishing houses, companies, say like Treyarch? How would you suggest these guys go about being noticed?
Yeah, really, what I've gotten to where I am, it's mostly attributed to networking. Really, that's the key, is networking, making those acquaintances, meeting those people who can then notice what you're doing. Your portfolio is extremely important. So to all the modders and all the mappers out there, keep doing what you're doing. Develop your mods, develop your maps, because just think of it from a corporate perspective. What's better than having to hire somebody and train them how to use your tool sets and train them how to work in your environment, and having to spend 3 weeks or 4 weeks training them, bringing them up to speed? Obviously, it's better to pull from within that community, pull from a pool of people who already know your tools, already know the development environments, and are also clearly self-starters who take that effort and take that initiative and teach themselves these technologies and tools. Just compare those two side by side. Obviously, any HR department, any company is going to want to go with that latter. So by no means am I saying don't do your work, don't learn these technologies, but it's more than that. It is very heavily dependent on networking and meeting those people. So don't be afraid to send your map to somebody and ask, hey, what do you think? What's your opinion on it? And a lot of that can also carry over to just any general life experience. If you're trying to go for a job, if you want to get a job, if you're going for an interview, don't always go and try to sell yourself. Don't try to market yourself as saying you want to hire me because I'm great. Maybe take the approach of, this is who I am, this is what I've done. Do you have any advice to make me better? Taking that different approach, I think can speak loudly towards character, in that you're not the best in the world, and you have a lot to learn, but you're willing to do it, and you've proven through what you've done that it, you can do it. That's sort of the attitude that I've taken, and I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but that's my way to do it. And take that for what you will.
I'm just going to point out to all my nerd buddies, when he means networking, guys, he's not talking about how to set up a LAN, okay?
Talking about social networking.
It's actually social. The word social is really kind of not in their dictionary, but...
No, I'm not going to speculate on that. But yeah, network with people and talk to people in the industry.
Exactly. For those trying their hand in this field, in terms of priorities now, in terms of, again, what companies like a Treyarch are looking for, there's a lot of guys out in our community, in the COD community, who are doing scripting, mapping, modding, etc. A lot of them are spending a lot of time maybe on the online side of things, making online mods. Would you suggest maybe that in the gaming industry, they're really kind of concentrating not on online play, but more on folks who might want to or have designed, let's say, single-player levels? Do the major design houses like Treyarch even care that you've made a great new online mod? I mean, is that even a priority with these guys? Is single-player levels where it's at as an entry point?
I wouldn't say that either of them are more important than the other. I would say that it's an interesting idea because when you think about Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, they had a great all-around game, phenomenal single player that had a phenomenal story, which climaxed at an amazing point and left the player wondering what's next. And of course, the multiplayer has just been legendary with their experience-based gameplay and all the perks. Amazing experience. You have practically infinite hours of replayability value with their online component. So one criticism that I've heard time and again is that the single player was just so short. So yeah, maybe people would get a little bit more attention for making a well-wrought single-player map or modding experience. But I don't know if that would make them any more or less valuable candidates for being employed in the game industry. I think both require a certain skill set that's extremely important. Single player for a Call of Duty franchise anyway has been very scripted driven. We want to drive an experience. We want to make sure we give the player an experience that we want them to experience, unlike Crysis, where the player experiences whatever experience they want to make for themselves. But multiplayer obviously is extremely important. So if you know how to entertain a player, if you know how to make a strong game type and design a map which is conducive to just nonstop action and great flanking points and just great design, that's going to speak loudly as well to a developer. So really it's a matter of, I think, do what you're good at and do what you want. Don't try to pretend like you're a multiplayer level developer, or don't try to pretend like you're a single player scripter or developer. If you really aren't invested and really aren't passionate about what you're trying to do, I think you'll be found out when you're going to interview.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for giving your tips on how to get started really in this business. Listen, we've come to the first half hour of this two-part episode. I wanted to thank you very much for taking the time to answer all these questions and let everybody know how it is that you're doing. We're going to be back with the second part in just a little while. And so again, appreciate you coming on, and we'll look forward to hearing what you have to say in the second part of this two-part bash.
Thanks for having me, Jack.
Thank you.
Brother Bashers, Sister Slashers, thanks for listening to Bash. Come to our portal site, BASH6x1.com, for more info on gaming. Join our boards and take part in our community. And remember, please support Bash by checking out our sponsors' links or by donating to Bash today. Thanks.
You've just been bashed.